Eskom labor unions are demanding a 15% wage increase. They are holding a press briefing right now after the power utility put forward a 3.75% offer. Let's listen in. I will then open it up for questions. Okay? Thank you so much. I'm going to give you the right.
Okay. This is a joint statement.
Stand like this.
Okay.
You may go ahead.
This is a joint statement of the three unions, NUM, NUMSA and Solidarity, on these Eskom wage negotiations. The 2023 Eskom wage negotiations started on the 19th of April 2023 here at Cedarwood Park, Johannesburg, and will run in 3 rounds, and up to the end of the May 2023. We can confirm that in all 3 unions at Eskom, NUM, NUMSA and Solidarity, we have submitted the wage demands to the employer and are currently participating in the first round of wage negotiations. Eskom has tabled an offer of 3.75% wage increase. Eskom has rejected our demands and further said the conditions of service must remain unchanged. All the 3 unions have rejected the Eskom's offer of 3.75 because of the offer being below the inflation rate of 7.1. The 3 unions extremely are anchored by the deliberative narrative from the media that says the unions are the ones who are causing load shedding. We call on media and its handlers to stop this particular reckless narrative, as all our members are working extremely very hard to make sure that they are lights for our communities and the society in general. All 3 unions have called on Eskom to make sure that the agreement that we'll be signing here is a multi-year agreement, a multi-2-year agreement, so that we can have an opportunity to stabilize the power utility. Eskom has rejected and refused to this particular multi-year wage agreement, saying that power utility is in dire financial constraints. Load shedding has plugged the whole country into a chaos, and it cannot be a business as usual. Therefore, a multi-year agreement makes sense under the current situations. Eskom claims that it cannot afford the demands the unions are making. We reject that claim outright. We cannot demonstrate that they cannot afford, because coal costs and diesel and open cycle gas tubes costs, which are skyrocketing every year. Sometimes 15% or more, they do not have a problem with paying this particular cost to the packages and benefits, as reflected in annual financial report that they've actually dealt with now. We also want to condemn the actions of Thulani Ngele, the General Manager of Eskom People Management Relations. Mr. Ngele is toxic and his utterances are very provocative in nature. It is ironic because he has been given the position to lead the people relations when he has 0 people skills. He has no idea what meaningful engagement means, and he has rude, obnoxious and manner of communication. With Labour in this forum on Thursday, he had a nerve to suggest that he does not care. Mr. Ngele was the reason that workers embarked on a protest action in the previous wage negotiations, which exacerbated to the load shedding crisis. He says that he does not care if that happens again. We are cautioning the entire Eskom board and executive management that Mr. Ngele is a dangerous and he is not the right person to be representing and leading these wage negotiations on behalf of Eskom. The next round of wage negotiations will begin on the 8th of May, and we are hopeful that we will be able to meaningfully engage. And of course, if possible, with not Mr. Dr. Ngele present, because he's not negotiating in good faith and will not assist the wage negotiations. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much for that comment. I'm going to open the floor now. I think I'm going to take, for now, I'll just take 3 questions at a time just for making it easier, okay? And as you put up your hands, I think your hands already here, please make sure you give me your name and the media house that you're from. Thank you. On the side, I'm starting with that.
I didn't know news. So my question is, one, I wanted to know what are the demands by the different unions? Do they have one demand or do they have all separate different demands?
Okay, so thank you for that. Heidi?
It's Heidi Giokos from eNCA. I'm just slightly concerned about the comments that the media is pushing the narrative about workers being blamed for load shedding. Perhaps if you could just elaborate on that, because I don't really understand where it comes from. And secondly, you mentioned that all 3 unions have rejected the wage offer by Eskom of 3.75%, which is obviously below inflation, which is at 7.1%. If Eskom comes back and says we're going to give you just inflation, would you be willing to move on that, or are you sticking to 15%? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Your name, please?
I just want to know how the signal demand for the understand that last year you were demanding 15% and you made us 7%, which ended up 1 billion in the Eskom wage. So I want to kind of ask you, are you hoping for the same thing happening this year? Because I mean, Eskom has actually reached the effective that it is demand high. And also I'd like to take a thought on the presentation by Treasury where they have said that the better data will be issued to Eskom not be used for special. Sorry, it says the debt will only be used to service debt and interest payments, and it says Eskom may not implement remuneration adjustments that negatively affect its overall central solution and community.
All right, thank you. So let's start with the first question from Naledi Moro from SABC. She wanted to know the specific demands of unions. If each union, starting with Solidarity, can just go and break down its demands. Thank you.
So first of all,
Okay, for the sake of the mics, I think what I'm going to ask you to do is to answer the 3 questions. So each union will answer the 3 questions that have been posed to them, okay? All right. The first one is about...
So the first one, with regards to the salary increases, demand is CPI plus 3%. We're looking at the last 12 months average. So that is the one demand that we have. And then let me just get to...
Sorry, can you just be specific who's making the demand? Is it Solidarity? Is it NUM?
That's Solidarity first.
Oh, okay.
Solidarity, yes. So let me just get all the detail. So from the trade union Solidarity, so it's CPI plus 3%. The motivation is that obviously then your the inflation pressure experienced by the workers that we represent is higher than the CPI. We can break it down into detail. Then the duration of the agreement to be 2 years. Then the long service award to be calculated as a percentage of the employee's basic rate of pay at the moment is based on 20,000 Rand cap. Housing allowance to increase by 5%. All other allowances and benefits to increase as the same percentage as the final agreed salary increase, and then we also requested that the unilateral change to conditions of employment to be corrected in line with a specific ruling. So there are all other issues regarding procedural issues that I don't have to go to in detail. Then with regards to, so obviously this is just the beginning. So we're looking at, we hear what Treasury is saying, we hear what the company is saying, but the difficulty that we are facing here in this negotiation is that, one, on an operational side, you hear that Eskom will say, we are at stage 6, we've got electricity crisis, we will fix it. This is what we hear today, over the past 3 days in the negotiations. And just show you, this is a microcosm of the problem we have in Eskom. So Eskom will come into the negotiations on day 1 ill-prepared. We told them, go back, we will wait for a few hours, come back with the proper response in writing. They said, don't worry, we'll go and fix it. So they went to go and give us feedback on a document filled with mistakes. They said, don't worry, we will go and fix it. They sent out a communication to the employees as a summary of the negotiations filled with mistakes. They said, don't worry, we'll go and fix it. They sent out a second summary the next day of the negotiations filled out with mistakes. They said, don't worry, we'll go and fix it. They sent out a brief to their principals, also filled with mistakes. And that is what we're experiencing in a negotiation, is that something that Eskom can control is labor relations, and they cannot control it. And then you can see this is just a reflection, a microcosm of the company that we're dealing with. So how do you expect them to solve the energy crisis if they cannot even conduct themselves properly in one of the most important wage negotiations in the country? Then also, if we look at Eskom financials, you need to analyze their financial results as well to say, but there are positives. If you look at their total electricity sales, September 21 versus September 22, there was an 8.4% improvement. Their labor cost over that period came down by 3.5%, and the income that they received from independent power producers increased by 21.5%. So there are also...
All right, those are multiple unions who represent workers at Eskom, who are, some of them, demanding a 15% wage increase for their members. Solidarity, for instance, saying that Eskom needs to add 3% more to their 3.75% wage offer that they've put on the table. Of course, you know that inflation is at the moment at 7.1%, so the unions feel that it's a slap in the face to offer workers just 3.75%. But Eskom, on the other hand, saying that it has no money. Government has already said that it cannot borrow for the next 3 years after saying that it would take up 200 billion rand of its historic debt when the budget speech was delivered by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwane in February. But you might remember, let me just remind you what happened last year when unions didn't get what they wanted in terms of wage negotiations with Eskom. Workers went on a strike. It was an protracted strike, and after a couple of days of that particular strike, we were plunged into stage 6, and at that time, the then CEO, Andre de Ruyter, blamed the fact that South Africa was plunged from stage 4 to stage 6 load shedding, particularly because of that wage strike. But we'll see how negotiations go this time around.